welcome to the Keto with Grace podcast. You've picked a really good one. This is my first episode, and I'm really lucky to have on Bobbi and Geoff Pike of East Coast Keto. Bobbi is an artist, and Geoff works in IT, and together they've created a fantastic community and business where they've begun to share their recipes and experiences with the keto diet. They strive to make it accessible to everyone and provide a lot of advice on their Facebook community. That's how I actually got to know them. So I'm very lucky to be able to interview them about their journey, their business, and their way of eating. So without any further ado, here is Bobbi and Geoff Pike.
So thank you, Bobbi and Geoff, for sitting and interviewing with me and talking about East Coast Keto. I'm really excited to actually get the chance to talk with you guys because you've been actually great influencers in my life, especially finding stuff in the Maritimes that's keto friendly. It's kind of a challenge when we're so small and we're trying to find everything that we want to make this lifestyle a lot easier. I also think that you guys have been huge motivators for a lot of other people, especially checking out the Facebook community. There's so many people who have kind of come to this lifestyle and have stayed on this lifestyle because you guys have made it accessible to them. Awesome. So I'm just very grateful that you guys have had the chance or have the time to sit down and talk to me today.
Awesome. Well, you know what? We kind of look at it this way. If we can help one person at the end of the day, it's all worth it.
I like that. That's a pretty good goal, I think. And for me, you've definitely done that. So at least one person for sure.
Awesome.
Yay! So I guess what we'll do is we'll jump right into it. So my question for you first is, how did you both come to keto? How did you find it?
Well, I think our introduction to the keto world came from your work.
There were a bunch of people at work went through one of the pay-to-play programs, and we were seeing the weight just fly off these people. But they were also going every week, getting weighed, paying their money, and getting what I call astronaut food, little packets of food that
full of chemicals.
Yeah.
And of course, me being the person that I am, I dug right in and I started researching. So first I started researching the name of the program, and we don't like the name program, so we'll leave it at that. And I just stumbled upon the word ketosis, and once I got keto and ketosis, my whole world just went like this. And the more I researched, the more I went, wow, and
this can't be good.
You know, this whole high fat, low carb, and so
we've been told our whole life that fat is bad.
It has to be bad for you. So at that point, we went to sit down with our family doctor. And I went and talked to my doctor, and I said, okay, I want you to make me accountable. I know how to lose weight. I know what I have to do. But I just need someone to say to me, you need to do this. Because at the end of the day, him and I would sit down and say, okay, let's be healthy. And then later on that night, let's have a bag of chips or let's, whatever bad food.
Yeah. And at that point, a lot of it was focusing on making sure we're getting regular exercise, cutting portions down, cutting out the crappy foods.
Yeah. And of course, when I discussed with my doctor, I said to her, this can't be healthy. And she said, well, actually, on the flip side of that, it's actually very good for you. And then she went into the whole story of, why ketosis is good and about how the whole sugar industry paid the scientists to come up with an advertising plan.
You guys got lucky from the beginning to have a doctor on your side.
100%. I mean, this lady is newly educated. She was right there with all the information. And I think if we had gone to talk to another doctor, we'd still be, 100 pounds heavier than what we are. We'd still be on all these medications that we're off now. So,
yeah. And probably on a couple more.
And probably on more, yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, that's a fantastic story. That's really encouraging to hear, too, that even on the East Coast, where we really do tend to have this kind of mentality that, we've always done things this way, we continue to do this way, and we're not really open to learning more information. There's kind of that stereotype. It's great to know that new doctors that are here, and hopefully more, are going to bring this kind of new knowledge and get people on a healthier train. So that actually is super encouraging to hear. That's awesome.
100%. And for us, I mean, we're at the stage now where You know, a lot of our friends are kind of looking at what we're doing, and when you look at that whole, you know, this is the way we traditionally did it. Well, that's not working for people, obviously, because, you know, up until we switched our lifestyle, we were on that traditional path. I mean,
You can't outrun a bad diet.
Geoff and I are a fairly new couple. We're around 10 years in as a couple, and when we first met, we were both like that.
Stick thin.
Like, we were so thin. Like, if anything, we were, you know, stressed out and underweight. And every year we got a little bit happier and a little bit happier and a little bit happier and a little bit happier. And, you know, if that's what traditionally happens to people, that gotta change.
And so one of the other things I wanted to ask you as well was, so when you came to this diet, you were aiming to kind of get healthier and that kind of thing. So what has kept you? What's made you stick to this diet long term?
The education.
Well, when we first started, it was more about weight loss. You know, we wanted to lose the weight, and but the longer we've been in the keto world, the more we realize it is about health. What's kept us here? This guy here is no longer diabetic.
That's awesome.
You know, like no longer a diabetic. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
When I started this journey, I was on a quadruple dose of blood pressure medications. I was 8 years away from the point from when my mom had her first heart attack. And when you're looking down the barrel of, you know, okay, 8 years, that's not a long time.
No.
You know, we were both on medications for acid reflux and heartburn and
High
cholesterol meds, and you know, we'd go to bed.
Sleep apnea.
We'd go to bed in the nighttime and we're popping pills and popping pills and popping pills, and you're just getting bigger and bigger. And once we started educating ourselves, we learned so much that at the end of the day, it's like, no, I'm not going back there. I don't want to put those chemicals into my body, and I don't want to put those starches and sugars, because I know what it's doing to me inside. It's not just making me bigger and bigger and bigger. It's hurting.
Inflammatory.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard too, I think, to justify, like, if all that good comes from eliminating the carbohydrates and then eliminating the sugars, like, no cupcake is worth trading at. Like, nothing. And I mean, you can come up with some pretty good alternatives too that taste just as good, if not better. So you can have your cake and eat it too, kind of thing.
You can have your cake and eat it too, and that's what I say to people all the time. Why would you cheat when there's so many keto fixes out there? I mean, if we want a burger, we have a burger. If we want a pizza, we can make a pizza. If we want something sweet, we can. Like, there's nothing that we're doing without.
We just made some chocolate bar.
We just made some chocolate upstairs that, you know, that is going to be absolutely lovely later on. And you know, we challenge ourselves that if there's something in our past life that we want, I'm going to find a way to make it.
I know that those videos have definitely helped me. Like, when you guys are pumping out recipes, it's so exciting that I can have some of those things again. Oh,
awesome.
Definitely makes me happy.
Awesome. Well, you know, the funny thing is we usually spend our weekends cooking, and we have a bunch of recipes all tucked aside that, you know, we will eventually get out there, but it takes a lot of work. It's not just making it once. It's making it and then remaking it and then remaking it. I remember one of the ones that we published, we were doing a batch of cookies at one point, and I showed this is the cookie, the first batch, and it was literally spread all over the pan. And then the next batch, they were this big, and then the next batch, they were this big. So, you know, sometimes it takes 4 or 5 different attempts to get the recipe because we're working with different products. Then we have to get in and we have to do the write-up. Then we have to do the nutrition.
Yes.
So when we first started this, we would spend the weekend cooking. Then we would post up a picture and say, look what we made. And of course, immediately there's people coming on and say, recipe.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't have a recipe for you yet. So we've stopped posting those pictures just because we want to make sure we get everything all fine-tuned before we put it on there. So when people say recipe, please,
you got it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are so used to going on all these Facebook forums where somebody posts up a recipe or a picture, give me the recipe, ding, next thing you know, they're bringing in a link from another page or another group, and that's not what we're doing. inventing.
Your content is original. Like, you're in the kitchen.
100%, yeah.
And it's if we post a link to a recipe, it's on our webpage.
It's on our
we
webpage.
created, and yeah, the recipe is ours. Pictures are ours.
Good, bad, and ugly.
So, what's been your favorite thing that you've kind of adapted, or maybe you guys both have different recipes, but what's the go-to?
Salsa chicken. We had it last night.
Salsa chicken, we had it last night. Yeah. I would say.
I don't think that one's on yet.
I would say our chili. Our chili, was our chili originated with kind of both of us, because there was his chili recipe, and then there was my chili recipe, and then they came together and became a super duper recipe.
Yeah.
And then keto happened, and we're like, okay, well, beans are inflammatory. What are we going to do? So we toyed around with a couple of different things, and eventually came up with using olives in replacement of the beans. And now this guy
and of course
here,
I said, that won't work. I hate olives.
but I think it's sort of like a tofu thing, in that the olives take on the flavor of the chili, and it also adds a little bit of extra saltiness. So you don't taste olives; all you taste is chili and that little beany kind of, what is like a rubbery, anyway, bean taste.
But when you're trying to get those extra salts and keep your electrolytes up, that's a fantastic substitution. Like, that's just genius.
Olives are good.
For sure.
Which is what I would say to this guy, is like, okay, well, you love olive oil, so how can you not like olives?
You just had to try it. Just had to. Okay. So another question that I had lined up for you guys is, your tagline for your website is that living the East Coast lifestyle without emptying your wallet. So would you be able to say confidently that living a keto lifestyle is possible on a budget? So for somebody who would like to do it and doesn't have that extra money, do you have any tips, any pointers?
It's actually cheaper.
It's cheaper.
You're not paying the extra money for all the processed garbage. I mean, if you go back 2 years, at any given point, if you open our fridge to put something in, it's like, oh, where am I going to put it? And you're juggling to find space. We've got so much room in the fridge because we're not buying as much food, because we're not as hungry.
Yeah. Well, there's that, and there's also, like, if you look on our website, you will see there is an article there on how to keto on a budget. The more processed the food is, the more expensive it is. So I tell people, anytime there's like actual chickens on sale, go get the chickens and take it and chop it up yourself, because when you do that, it's going to be cheaper. Every extra move that butcher makes to cut or do whatever, or whether it's someone in a deli and they're mixing it with something, or whether you're paying for those people's time. So the more raw of a material you can get, the cheaper it's going to be. If you buy vegetables in season, they're going to be cheaper. If a lot of people start the ketogenic diet and they're like, oh, I got to go buy this, and I got to go buy this keto thing, and I got to go. No, you don't. For me, anything that has the label on it, keto food, to me, that's a red flag to stay away from.
Yeah.
What I recommend people to do is to eat the way your grandparents ate before all these stores were around, where you got all these processed foods and boxes of ingredients with chemicals and
buy things that don't have ingredients lists.
100%. If you can buy things that don't have ingredients, when we go in the grocery store now, we usually go to the protein first. So we'll go get our meats, and we don't have any preconceived notions. We don't have any, okay, we're going to have this for supper. We'll go in and we'll look and see what's on sale. Whatever is on sale and looks good, we'll build a meal around that. So we've got our protein. Now let's go back and look at the vegetables and what vegetables are going to go with that. And if you take that approach, instead of going in and saying, okay, well, I need chicken breasts, you go in and, chicken breasts aren't on sale this week. They're 3 times as expensive as they were last week. Oh, darn.
Pork chops.
Now I just blew my budget on one package of exactly. You buy pork chops instead of buying those chicken breasts that are overinflated in price.
And yeah, if pork chops are on sale, go at the busy time, and there'll be moms of people around that end of the cooler where the pork chops are, and they're picking through, and they're putting the ones with all the extra fat off to the side because they don't want them. They're making it easy for you to pick them up.
And this guy's like, thank you, thank you, thank you.
That is all. I hadn't even thought of that, so that's fantastic.
Totally.
Do you guys tend to do, like, if you see a sale, are you buying those meats like, I find that I do this. Are you buying these meats in bulk and freezing them, like, or do you keep going on a fresh every week?
No, our freezer is pretty well stocked. One of the best investments is a vacuum sealer.
Yeah, which they're not expensive. You can get yourself a little vacuum sealer.
Yeah.
A lot of people tend to go to Costco and not to, mention brands or anything, but at the end of the day, the meats they have there are all like extra lean and stuff like that, which is not really, our way of life unless you got a never-ending supply of butter. So we're more along the lines of shop the sales and take it and vacuum pack it, and that way you're good to go.
Sounds good. That's been one of my favorite things that you guys have put out is what's on sale this week and being able to see those. So I know for me that's made a huge impact in how I shop too, and definitely one of the benefits of the group is people saying, oh, I found this, like, there's pork rinds here, like, here's the alert, which is always exciting.
Well, one of the downfalls of that too, and I changed the way I posted that today, because a lot of people think that that's our keto approved list, but it's not. It's just the weekly sales, as per what the individual stores have on sale that week. I haven't gone in and looked at the nutritional labels for all these items. So, say for example, they might have a particular sausage on, and I'll go, oh, okay, there's sausages on sale this week. I haven't looked to see what's in that ingredient,
Yeah.
Please practice due diligence, check for
The
yourself.
Canned tomatoes is a good example.
Canned tomatoes, 100%.
They vary in a big way
Yeah.
from brand to brand, the net carb content.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a big thing too, is like a lot of this is people really need to learn skills or learn how to actually cook, and then how to read ingredient lists and nutrition labels too. I think that's, unfortunately, that's a skill it's easy to learn, but it's lacking in general. But
the ingredients list, when we first started, I remember when the week that we went full keto, we went to the grocery store and it literally took us over 2 hours. Every product we're looking at, and there could be 4 different brands of the same product, and you're looking at every single label, and they're all different.
Yeah.
And you have to make the decision for yourself, which one do you want to go with?
Which is best for your lifestyle.
Which led us down the path of avoiding, as much as we can, anything that has ingredients on it.
Ingredients list. Yeah, we started out as low carb, and we were low carb for probably around 6 months or so before we started keto and started really tracking. And when we started really tracking, we realized that we weren't really as low carb as what we thought we were. I mean, in comparison to the rest of the world, we were still doing good, but we were nowhere near where we needed to be. So, it's definitely an educational process. I mean, people get really freaked out in the beginning of keto. They're like, oh my God, there's so much information to take in. Yeah, it is, but it goes back to that whole, saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
That's true.
Yeah.
High fat too.
Do you guys still track your macronutrients regularly, or?
No, we don't. I mean, we were at the point where we were like daily under 10 net of carbs, and we just don't consume a whole lot of carbs. So, I mean, every day we're going to be 5 or 6 or 10 or God forbid, we're 15 carbs today.
Holy moly!
Right?
So yeah, we stopped after that.
Yeah, but we do recommend that people when they're first starting out, like we were a perfect example.
4, 5, 6 months.
100%, but we were a good example of people who thought we were doing best kind, which is a Newfoundland term. And then once we started tracking, we realized, no, boy, I mean, you need to track to get yourself at the point where you know what you're eating daily, whether it's above or below or.
Powdered spices was one thing. I mean, when we're putting together a dish, you're tracking everything that goes into the dish.
Yeah.
Because it all adds up.
I think that was one of the tricky ones for me, was like how much maltodextrin or how much extra sugar is in this spice mix, and you don't think it's anything, but it's there and it adds up. So.
It's in everything. I mean, not only is it in, well, spice mixes are notorious for gum, cough drops, medicines. I mean, there's a lot of people out there taking like little gummy bear vitamins, and all. Okay, that gummy bear is not really the natural shape. The gummy bear is not really the natural shape. What do you think they use to make it into a gummy bear?
but it's healthy for me. But it's healthy. It's tricky. It's so tricky, and it's those little insidious things that I think a lot of people wouldn't think of. But it's great to have people out there like you guys who are actually making that information available. Those things that you wouldn't think of right off the bat. So.
And at the end of the day, they add up. I mean, it's okay to say, okay, I'll have this, and this has only got a little tiny bit, and then later on you're going to have another little tiny. I mean, at the end of the day, they add up, and really when you look at the way keto was explained to us and the benefits of it, is you should go through your day and your insulin levels should be completely level all the way through. But because of the way we as humans have gotten used to eating, your level is down here, and then you have a meal and boom, your insulin level is up, and then it goes down, and then it goes up, and then it goes down. So the more you can do to keep it on an even keel all the way across, that's what's best for your system, for your metabolism. And every little thing that you have that just got a little tiny bit, they're all making bumps. They're all, even if the bumps are this big, it's still creating waves in your metabolism, and it's still a bump. So the cleaner you can do it, the better it is for you.
Yeah, if there was one tip I'd give to people is to learn, and it's a link on our page, is learn all those names of sugar.
Yeah. There's
50, 60 different names. And it's not just that white stuff in the bowl on the counter.
It's tricky.
And it's all garbage.
What's coming next for East Coast Keto? You know what? To me, it's comparable to my art business, because when I just passed my 6th anniversary for art.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it was kind of one of those things that happened to me. All of a sudden, I had no idea I could paint it. It literally just, like, I compare it to waking up one morning and walking down over the stairs and looking at your significant other and Japanese coming out. And I think that this whole East Coast Keto thing is very comparable to that, in that I feel like we're literally, there's a great big tiger in front of us and we're hanging onto his tail, and he's just galloping down the road, and we're like, okay, well, let's see where this goes. And I know we're 100% on board, but what's in the future? When we started keto, we had no idea that this was going to happen. I mean, it literally just, people started approaching us, asking us questions, and it just got so big, so many people asking us questions, that we decided to start a small group amongst our people, and from there, it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and coaching opportunities, books and movies and conferences, and
sky's the limit.
Yeah.
That's pretty. That is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
That you had mentioned about your art, and I'm just curious, for you, do you feel like keto has had any kind of mental benefits in terms of your creativity? Has that changed how you? I know that's totally off our
that's fine.
questions, but
I think it has.
I think it has too. I mean, mentally, I've always been a very thin person, and not necessarily healthy, because I don't know if you know the term thin on the inside. I mean, you can be physically thin and still have a lot of visceral fat and not be healthy.
skinny fat.
Exactly, fat on the inside. But I was always at a point where I physically looked thin, and once I started gaining weight, I mean, it started affecting me up here, in that I was kind of embarrassed to run into someone that I hadn't seen for 3 or 4 years, because there's this whole stigma about, oh my God, look at how much weight they have on. And since I've lost weight, it's more of a, you just feel a lot better about yourself, and keto helps you. It takes away a lot of the mental fog that you have, and it just, I think it helps you just become a better version of the person that you were before. So yeah, that's got to help with the art.
You're running on a different fuel there, just a little bit more clean burning.
100%. I know.
Bacon.
It's a good fuel. I like bacon generally for a fuel source there. So.
Right. Well, I know I have 2 projects on the go right now, and I can't really talk about either because one is about to be unveiled this weekend, and the other one will be probably in the next week or so put on the website. But they're both totally outside of my realm of comfort that I was as an artist. And the one in particular that I started today, I did a quick snapshot and I sent it to Geoff at work before he came home, and I was like, what do you think it is? And he's like, oh yeah, that's nice. And I kind of thought to myself, he ain't got a clue. So he came home and I showed him the same piece in person, and then I said, did you notice this? And he's like, and did you notice this? And he's like, oh my God, and there's all these extra little layers that, surprise.
That's exciting.
It's so exciting.
So I guess before we go, I kind of wanted to ask, for where you guys deal a lot with a lot of beginner questions on your Facebook community, what would be some of your takeaways, your big suggestions for the person who's just getting started with all this? What are those main things that you would tell them to focus on?
The main thing that I would suggest is, personally, I think people should start off low carb first, because you hear a lot of people talking about the keto flu and how hard it is, and a lot of it is a detox. Keto is not just cutting carbs, it's also taking out all the chemicals and all that stuff. So your body really has to go through a big change. And if you start off low carb, for example, if you started this week and you just stopped on potatoes, and then next week you stopped on bread, and the next week you stopped eating pasta, instead of just doing a major shock to your body, it's slowly but surely ramping your body up and kind of letting your system know, okay, something's happening here. And instead of looking at the full picture in regard to, oh my God, there's so much to take in, how do I do it? Just be patient with yourself. We also find that when people are brand new to the group, I think people are so used to, out in the social media world, on the internet these days, there's a lot of bashing happening, and a lot of people picking on one another. A lot of times we'll go in as admins, and we'll say, for example, put a little admin note on, and purely for information purposes. A lot of people take that personally and feel like we're attacking them and criticizing them, but at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is just get the information out. Like, if you say, for example, if you post up a product and it has an ingredient in there that's bad, and we come back to you and say, okay, Grace, this product has such and such a thing in there. We're not necessarily saying it to you, because at the end of the day, you're an adult, you know what you're going to eat and what you're not going to eat. But there might be 1,000 people who come behind you and look at your post, and they may not read down through. They might just look at it and say, oh my God, I didn't know I could have that.
Yeah, just gospel truth, right?
100%. So we just put a little post up there just for the rest of the people that are coming behind, and just to let them know, buyer beware, there's, possibly something in here that you might not. There's uglies in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, eat real food, green leafy vegetables, protein, healthy
cutting
fats.
out the processed food.
Yep.
The frozen dinners, the frozen pizzas, the entrees,
the bottled sauces.
Yeah.
Everything that's processed, there's going to be ingredients in there that 9 times out of 10 you shouldn't be eating.
And if anything says low fat, put it back on the shelf.
Or keto.
That last one is unfortunately very true. You're right.
It is. Unfortunately, it's the same as any other industry out there, and that people are anxious to make money off whatever, and
Oh, it's a keto chocolate bar.
and if it says keto, chances are it's just as processed as all the other foods out there that you don't want to be eating. So, don't never assume.
It's
Never.
good advice.
Yeah.
Never.
So for you guys, your Facebook page, if you just look up Facebook East Coast Keto, you guys will find you there. Your website's www.eastcoastketo.com. Am I right?
.com, you got it. Yeah.
Any other way for people to contact you or look you up?
Carrier pigeon. My email through East Coast Keto is Bobbi, Bobbi. Just make sure you don't put an E on there. So it's Bobbi at eastcoastketo.com. You can also inbox me either through the page or on my personal side. We get a lot daily. And at the end of the day, if we can answer any questions for you, we're delighted to do so.
And yeah, we've recruited a couple of seasoned veteran ketoers as extra admins on the page. So if we're not around, if we're at an event, especially coming into this time of year when things get crazy busy, these extra folks are.
Yep. Great big shout out to Gail, Mike, and Lisa, because they're all absolutely fabulous, and we wouldn't be able to run the group without them.
Yep.
Fantastic.
It'll be a much smaller group.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time today and answering all my questions. I really appreciate it. And I hope it's been pretty informative. I know you guys have really been a great resource for me, and I know you continue to be that great resource for everyone who's involved in the Facebook community and uses your website. So thank you again so much, and can't wait to see more come out of East Coast Keto.
Awesome. Thank you so much for chatting with us. We really enjoyed it.
No worries.